Hey there, everybody. It's Dr. Goldner, just getting ready to get started for Wellness Wednesday, making sure the feed is live everywhere. All right. And let's go ahead and do it. All right. Live here, live everywhere. All right. I am content. So we're on Facebook, we're in my Smoothie Shred community, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere. Hey everybody, let me deal with that really quickly. It's Dr. Goldner. I'm glad to see you all here today. It is Wednesday, so it's my day where I come on as public service to try to help you all with your health, your happiness, with doing what it takes to get well and to stay well in all those different areas. I can't substitute for medical advice, but I do my best to help you from my office to wherever you are. And so, of course, talk to your doctor before making any major changes in things like your diet, especially if that has an effect on your medications. So, goodness, there was something I planned to talk about today, but then this other thing came up. Should I just coach you on both? Maybe I should coach you on both. So, the initial topic I wanted to talk about today, before I hit up some questions from you all, was about cravings and what to do about them. And it was inspired yesterday when I was coaching someone who's seeing me for wellness appointments. So I have appointments over Zoom where you could see me for wellness appointments. And we were talking about her struggle with eating things that she knows are unhealthy. And she'll take a couple weeks and eat all the things I tell her to eat. She's eating her vegetables, her omega-3, her smoothies, her water, all that stuff. And then she gets these cravings and she'll end up adding back in meat and other things that are actually detrimental to her goals. They're going to keep making her kidney function worse, going to make her inflammation worse. And she was really struggling with, the idea of not giving into cravings. And so I wanted to just briefly talk about that with you because it's a really important thing. Cravings, for most people, you're going to have cravings when you change your diet, especially to a very strict diet. The Goodbye Lupus protocol, which again is named for my book, Goodbye Lupus, but is not specific to disease. You can do the same protocol for many different diseases, but it's very, very strict, right? It is a raw protocol where all of the components that you're eating are specific to cellular repair. And when people do it, they drop into this amazing healing mode where pain gets better, inflammation goes down, organ function improves. It's incredible. Energy, mental health. It is absolutely amazing. And it's one of the reasons those of you who have heard of me, because I've never done a big advertising campaign or anything. It's all been word of mouth. People find it works and then they share it and then they share it. It's really remarkable. But it is difficult to do. All right. It's difficult to just drop into that and get rid of all the things you're used to eating. And so cravings are a big part of things early on. Not for everyone. There are some folks out there that just do not have food addictions, do not have food cravings, and good for them, right? We're happy for them. But for most folks, there's some pangs of missing, and for some, it is very severe. And these cravings, especially for people who have food addiction, these cravings they're drug cravings, and they are just obsessing about those things. So how do you get past it? Number one, realize that it's temporary. When people are in the throes of having food cravings, which the most intense food cravings usually happens about 2 weeks in, which just when you think you're getting it down, just when you think you know what you're doing, then all of a sudden you can't stop thinking about whatever it is, cookies or whatever it is that you're craving. It's normal. That's how it goes. It's true for drug addicts as well, for different kinds of drugs, although I think people are addicted to food-like drugs, I call them, right? But just when you think you're getting it down, the cravings really intensify. So usually at the end of the second week, beginning of the third week is the peak of cravings. So one thing that can help you through it is know that that's normal, that it's the peak of the cravings. And if it's the peak, what does that mean? It's downhill from there. It's going to get better. When you're at the peak of cravings, the addicted brain will try to convince you that this is going to last forever. This is how I can't live like this. Any of you ever have that thought? I can't live like this, just constantly dreaming about cookies. I can't do it. It's not going to be that way. You're not going to live like this. This is temporary. So the cravings, while they intensify at first, tell yourself, know this, that is temporary. How do I know? I have been through this process with thousands now of people, many of which I have seen every single day. The reason I created my rapid recovery programs is because I know the hardest part is the first month. And if I can hold someone's hand for the first month and get them through the cravings, the ups and downs, start to get results, then I can release them back into the world, into the wild, and they have a good chance of being able to maintain it and keep going, right? So know it's temporary. That also, the Goodbye Lupus protocol isn't a forever diet. This is a very strict protocol to help people quickly reverse autoimmune diseases, symptoms of inflammation, severe heart disease, things like that, where we need to get people better as quickly as possible, or they want to get better as quickly as possible. But the diet is much more diverse and relaxed with your maintenance, right? So remember that too, that this is temporary, right? Also remember that whatever the pain is of the cravings, that they are still better than the symptoms of the disease that you're battling. The person who has kidney failure, who's really upset about craving meat or pizza or whatever it is forgetting that if they eat those things, they're staring down dialysis, kidney transplant. And those are things that don't necessarily go away. You know, you get a kidney transplant, that's it. So food cravings are temporary, and you can push through them, and they will get better in time. But sometimes the sequela of the disease might not be temporary. You might get permanent damage to things. So remember, don't compare green smoothies to bacon and eggs. Compare bacon and eggs to kidney failure, right? Like, do I want bacon and eggs, or do I want my kidneys? That's the choice. Do I want pizza, or do I want to get rid of this arthritis? Right? You got to make a choice. So a lot of times I find people are comparing the wrong things, and they're getting lost in the cravings, and then they're making decisions from that emotional place. What helps cravings, besides one, making a decision that I can have cravings and I can keep going and it'll get better. Number two, self-care. If you're having cravings, usually it's because you're looking for a high, so get it some other way. People who have wonderful self-care usually don't mind whatever they eat. If they're enjoying their life, so what? I can have a salad and have fun. My husband and I, we go to comedy shows as often as possible. I was just looking at some for this weekend. We see him at least twice a month, right? I can have a salad and have a great time at a comedy show, right? That is so much more fun than going out to eat for me. Although we can go out to eat, and our favorite place to go out to eat is a salad bar. But point is, if your life is rich and entertaining and happy, then you can let your food be plain. So also look into self-care. Also, don't let yourself be hungry. There are some folks who are telling me, oh, well, I had a pound of raw veggies and that's all I ate. And then by the end of the day, I was so hungry, I ate something cooked. I've never said to stop there. Hypernourishment is about what you add to your diet, right? But if you're going to eat nothing but raw foods, you better still keep eating. There's more. You're never supposed to be hungry, right? So that means you're going to be adding more salads. Or if you don't want to eat salads and smoothies, that's why I have my book, Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious. It's over this shoulder of mine. Plenty of recipes. You can make cruciferous lasagna. Like you can make the pie recipes. There's so many different things you can make that can continue to feed you throughout the day. But it will get better, and it's worth it. All right, let me see the time. All right, let me give you the other thing, because I just got off the line with someone, and she really loved this analogy. So let me see what Diana said. Yes, I could have a pizza, but I like to see out of both my eyes and not sticking a needle of media in my body, a needle of meds in my body 3 times a week, or doing off to do kettlebells for self-care. Yeah, when you compare food, the negative foods, to what they do to your body versus which flavor do I like best, the decision becomes easy. And again, it's temporary. My favorite things that one of my rapid recovery clients said to me is, this diet is hard until it's easy. And she's someone who decided to stay raw, who had never eaten raw, had never eaten plant-based, had been a regular meat eater. And after doing rapid recovery and healing all of her injuries and illnesses, she's like, I've never felt this good. I don't want to ever go back to eating cooked foods, meat, anything. I'm just going to stay raw. Now, she eats a pound of veggies every meal 3-4 times a day, and she's out skiing and like having an incredible time in her life. So it changes. Your cravings will change, and you will be surprised that at a month in, you might crave something totally different. Usually after about a month, people start waking up craving the smoothie and the raw foods rather than craving what they used to. It changes. I used to be a major cheese addict. I thought it was the best thing ever. And now when I see it, it nauseates me. It looks so disgusting to me. That took time. But when I saw it back when I still craved it, I would just remind myself that's pus, inflammation, lupus, disease, right? I don't want it. And I think I Pavlov dogged myself, where now I see it and I get a fight or flight response. So you can try that. The other thing that we were talking about from a session I had today was really about how to deal with the struggles that come at you in life, right? That sometimes it can feel like all this pain's coming at you, and the only coping that you know of is food, right? And so cravings sometimes are not just about self-care. Well, it is still about self-care, but it's not just about what foods you like better, but about your only way to deal with the emotions of what's coming at you. And a lot of times people will eat or drink, use drugs to try not to feel feelings. And the thing is, we have to feel our feelings. If you try to bury them down and not feel them, you're just planting seeds of inflammation and pain that's going to sprout up later. And it's why there's such a much higher rate of autoimmune diseases, as well as other diseases, with people who have trauma in their history, right? And so I was just talking to someone that I've been working with to help her with her traumas and the pain that she experiences physically with them. And we're talking about something bad that happened in her relationship, and then it led her to eat badly. But then she remembered what I taught her, and she put it down, got help, got back on track, and that was perfect. I'm super proud of her right now. But I was talking to her about how important it is that we experience our pains and our feelings, but then use them to grow ourselves. And I am, if you don't know this, I am a movie buff. Absolutely love movies. In my psychiatry residency, we had a movie club where we would all analyze the heck out of movies together. It's so fun, at least if you're a psychiatrist. It's really fun. But I love movies, and I often see movies differently than other folks because I'm not just in it for the story that you see here, like on the surface, but what does it mean? And one of the movies I really love, and I've mentioned it before, in terms of our own growth, is The Wizard of Oz. How many of you have heard me talk a little bit about it? Well, I went deeper in it today, and she loved it, and I thought, I'll share it with my Wellness Wednesday folks. Wizard of Oz, superficially, some girl is into another world, maybe it was real, maybe it wasn't, all these kind of things, right? We've got fantastical characters, all that. What Wizard of Oz really is about, according to me, is about personal growth and discovering your own strength and your own power through pain, okay? Think of it this way. You start out the movie and Dorothy is feeling unseen, unsupported, lost, right? She's got a family that doesn't seem to understand who she is and what she wants. They love her, but they don't make her feel seen. A neighbor who comes after her, attacks her, wants to take her dog, and her family allows it. So she is traumatized, she's hurt and lost and feels unloved and unseen. And she says, that's it, I'm leaving. But then she goes out into the world and it's even worse. She's taken into, there's a tornado that thrusts her into a whole new world where now she's off on her own. So she's not with her family anymore. She's off on her own. She's scared and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know where to go. And then some woman who seems like she knows what she's talking about tells her, oh, you need a man to save you, the wizard. But in order to see this man who's going to save you and make your life perfect again, you're going to have to go down this perilous road. And there's going to be things that can attack you from all sides. Flying monkeys, witches trying to kill you, lions going to attack you, poppies that can drug you. you're going to have to go down this perilous road to try to get to the person who's going to be your savior. And they don't send her off with a guide. You're off on your own. What happens? Well, one, she learns that she can make friends along the way. That not everyone you meet along the way is going to be scary or going to be out to hurt you. There are going to be people you meet along the way who are going to see you, who are going to love you, and who are going to be there for you, even while you're lost. In fact, you can be lost together. And each of them was lost in some way, but found in another way, right? Dorothy had courage, but she didn't trust herself or know who she was. The Scarecrow was smart, but he didn't know himself either, really, right? Tin Man, all of them they were all lost in some way, but found themselves partly through their friendship with each other. So you're going to find friends along the way, people who really do see you and care about you and want to be there to support you. And there were the flying monkeys and the witch trying to kill her and all that kind of stuff. And she survived all of it. And yes, I love Wicked. I saw it. But she survived all of it, right? She survived it. And finally, she gets to the wizard. And it turns out he's a fraud. And he can't save her either. And she goes, what the heck? I did all this. I survived trauma, loss, murder. Like she went through so much. And even still, there was no one there to save her. And finally, then, here comes Glenda in her bubble again and tells her, oh, well, you actually don't even need the wizard. You could save yourself. At any time, you could have saved yourself and taken yourself home. And Dorothy says, why didn't you just tell me that instead of making me go down the yellow brick road? And she said, because you wouldn't have believed me. And isn't that the truth about life? Is that we don't believe in ourselves and in our power until we are tested, until we suffer, until we overcome. And finally, through all that overcoming and surviving and being tested and getting through it, we finally discover our own power. And that the truth is, we don't need anyone to save us. We can save ourselves. We can have the life we really want. We just have to believe in ourselves and be willing to do whatever it takes to do it. And that is The Wizard of Oz, according to Dr. G. I could have a YouTube channel, just me summarizing movies according to me. But I think that that movie is such a powerful way to look at life, right? Because we all experience that to some extent. We all have different roads we've walked. And most of us, by the time we get to a certain age, have experienced traumatic, painful, awful things. Whether it's because of our parents, people who have attacked us or hurt us, diseases, losing people we love. We've all experienced pain and struggle. But if you decide to keep walking, even though you don't know where you're headed, and that's Dorothy had no idea where this path was going to take her. She just knew that was the way. That was the path. That was the path towards her health, her life that she wanted. And she had to just take it, not knowing what was going to happen. But ultimately, it wasn't a person who saved her. She had to realize her own strength in order to save herself. And that's the other point that's true, is we can have guides. I'm a guide. I don't have a pink bubble. But I'm a guide, right? That there are guides in this world who can say, this is the path. This is the path. This is the way. Head this way. But ultimately, we have to be brave enough and committed enough to walk the path, to not lie down, to not give up, to let people in who can love us and support us, and to walk that path until we get home to where we want to be. So if that wakes anything up in any of you, that is my Wizard of Oz analogy for you. And yes, when you make an appointment with me, I will use everything to help you get better. I will use The Wizard of Oz. I will use any other movie. I will use any metaphor, analogy. I will make one up in the spot. Whatever it takes to help you see your path and be willing to take the steps forward, even if it's scary, even if you wish you had to do another path. My goal is to help each of you find the path for yourself. And on Wednesdays, I try to make it broad enough that most of you can connect to it. And of course, when people see me privately, it's specific to your own issue or stress. But I hope that that helps you. I think it is such an important thing to realize your own power, and that most of the time people stop themselves. It's not the flying monkey, but it's their own fear that stops them from even taking those steps. And that's when you got to channel Dorothy and be brave enough to go ahead anyway, even though it's scary. All right, let's look at what you all want to ask me today. You guys have questions for me today. I see that. All right. All right. Audrey wants to watch my YouTube movie channel. My husband and I were thinking about it the other day. We were watching a show and we were commenting back and forth to each other on like the motivations and issues of the characters. And then my husband's like, should we record this and share it? Oh man, I love it. Okay, let's see. All right, Megan's asking in Smoothie Shred. Hi, Dr. G. I'm dealing with sciatica nerve pain caused by bulging disc. I'm working with a physical therapist. I was wondering which of your protocols would be best for my inflamed nerve issue. So, Megan, if you're dealing with inflammation around a bulging disc, then yes, physical therapy, and nutrition-wise, do the full Goodbye Lupus protocol, bring the inflammation down. If you saw, there was recently an email that I read from Maud in France, who said that she had back surgery and her pain didn't go away. And she was told it was too late, nerves damaged, inflamed. And she did my protocol for autoimmune issues, back pain went away. And she's back to hiking and biking again. She doesn't even drive, she bikes everywhere. So not saying that'll happen to everyone. Sometimes it really is a mechanical issue, but a lot of times there's inflammation that needs to be addressed as well. So sounds like you're doing all the right things. Marianne, Dr. G, Glenda, the good doctor. All you do. I guess I'm a good witch. All right, let's see. All right, Vicky wants to know, what's the amount of cruciferous you recommend for someone that's not seeing an improvement, following up Goodbye Autoimmune for 3 months, tips or suggestions? Well, I wouldn't necessarily start with the cruciferous. So if you're not seeing an improvement 3 months, then the first thing I would be sitting down with you to do is analyze exactly what you're doing and make sure, one, that you're doing the protocol correctly. A lot of times people make mistakes and they didn't realize it. I try to teach everything I can for free online. Hey, sometimes people make mistakes. So one, I'd be looking to make sure you got it right. 2, if you had it right, the second thing I'd be looking at is what's your average mood and how much stress do you have? Because a lot of times people are eating just fine, but they're not doing self-care. They're not managing their stress, and that stress is keeping them inflamed. You can eat perfectly on the plan and start to form scabs around the wounds, but high enough stress, poor self-care, and even poor sleep, that's going to affect your ability and might scratch off some of those scabs and keep the wound alive, right? So, sorry if that's a gross analogy, but it's kind of on point, right? So I'd be looking to see if there's anything about your stress, your sleep, your self-care, your moods, anything else that could be affecting you or causing inflammation or pain. And then finally, and then on top of that, I'd also make sure that you're looking at everything. So sometimes people are trying to decide if something's working. They're only looking at the one symptom that bothers them the most. So it's like, okay, well, my wrists are killing me and it's been 3 months, my wrists hurt. And so therefore it's not working. But sometimes you're skipping over the areas that are better. So for example, if your migraine headaches are gone and your rash is cleared up and your ankles no longer hurt and your energy's through the roof, but your wrists all still hurt, I'd say it is working. You just haven't gotten to the wrist yet. Your body's fixing other things. But if you don't see anything, then I'd start looking at food allergies for you to see, is it that you've been repairing the damage, but you don't feel it because you're sensitive to a certain food? One thing you can always try to see if you hit the accelerator would be just try the no fruit version. But if you want to see if you have food sensitivities, then you can start taking things out to see, how do I feel if I take out spinach? How do I feel if I switch from flax seeds to flax oil? Without knowing you personally, I don't know what you're eating, so I can't give you a specific thing. But that would be the algorithm that I'd be working down. And also make sure that whatever it is the symptom is, that it's an inflammatory symptom. Sometimes people have a persisting symptom that's not inflammatory and it's mechanical. And so I realized, oh, wait, you just need to massage your quads and that'll release your knee or this or that. So yeah, that's the benefit if you're struggling. That's the benefit of meeting with Thomas and me personally is we can go through all of these things and then figure out what's the real problem versus what did you assume was the problem and be able to fix it. Okay. Let's see here. Anne-Marie, a second case of poison ivy this summer. Did you take a course of prednisone, hypernourishing alone? I think if you've got a severe case of poison ivy, then I'd be listening to your doctor about ways to treat it in addition to eating on plan to help accelerate recovery. That's a tough allergy right there. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's see what's going on the YouTube side of things. Okay. All right, Sprinkled Whimsy. Love you, Dr. G. Thank you. I'm doing good. Autoimmune. I plugged in my food app. The one thing after my supplements, it says a diet may not contain selenium. Should I supplement? Not typically necessary. There's selenium in some of the foods, like the chia seeds, for example. And then usually you can you'll be adding other foods back when you're done with the program. But you also can just test and see if you're low in selenium. If you're low in it and chia seeds, the other areas where you can get it are not enough, you can always take a supplement. But just because this app says you might have an issue doesn't mean you actually have an issue. And we haven't seen a problem for folks. But it's easy to supplement if you need to. Let's say you're just doing flax oil or something is still low. But yeah, don't go off what the app predicts. But if you really are concerned that something's missing, you can always test it. All right. All right. Ma's review channel. Hi, Dr. Goldner. Thank you for everything. When do people typically start feeling better on good autoimmune? I'm following as best I can without being in rapid recovery. I hear past ailments can be felt during detox. So this depends on how well you're actually executing things and your health coming into it, what your previous diet was. So there's not one set answer. I can tell you typically. So typically for people who are in rapid recovery that I'm personally overseeing and making sure they're doing everything right, typically about halfway through the first weekend, day 3 or 4, they might feel symptoms like old pains feeling worse or existing pains feeling worse, flu-like symptoms, tired, sometimes even rashy, just very flu-like. And that can last typically about a week or so. If it lasts longer, it's still getting better. So it like peaks at like 3-4 days in, and then it might linger a few days, and then it wanes off, and then it goes away. So that's typically what I see. When folks are doing it on their own and they're not, because you said following as best as possible, whenever people say as possible, it makes me wonder, are there days that you're not following it? Are there things, so if you're not fully on it, it can take longer. Things that help, making sure you maximize your water, getting exercise, those things can help. It's worth it. Okay. All right. Brittany wants to know, when having situational or anxious diarrhea, are we still absorbing enough nutrients, hypernourishing? It feels like food waste, yet I want nourishment. My initials are BM, so it's my question to ask. Yes, if you are having an episode of diarrhea, in that moment, you are absorbing less nutrition because things are going through your system faster. And it's kind of like, if things are going by on a conveyor belt and you have time to take things out and absorb them, if the conveyor belt speeds up, then your body has less time. So it might get every other thing. Still, at least if you're eating hyper-nourishing foods, you're getting way more nutrition than if you were eating less nourishing foods. So it's a situational thing. In that moment, you're having a little bit less nutrition, but whatever you absorb is good stuff. Working on the stress is always good for your bowels. And I'm glad that they are of the green variety. All right, let's check over on what Facebook's asking me today. Okay, let me see here. All right. Oh, thank you, SLB Sales. All right, let's see here. Okay, and remember, I do not have any assistants working behind the scenes answering questions. So if someone's answering your question It's one of my fans or followers who are giving their thoughts that may or may not be what I'd say, just so you're aware. All right, let's see. Christy says, I'm a liver transplant patient, 2.5 years post-transplant from acute liver failure of unknown causes. I feel great, but my GFRs are hovering around 48 to 58. I drink 75 to 80 ounces of water a day. I have labs in about 10 days. What can I do right now to improve my GFR? Last labs, including electrolytes, were normal range except creatinine and GFR. I'm already plant-based. My Goodbye Lupus protocol. It is the best thing that you can do for kidney function. So if you're in that range, most likely you do not have any limitations on your potassium or water. Your doctor should tell you if you do. So you should be able to do the full protocol, but you can always check with your doctor to make sure about those things. But if kidneys can get better, that plan does work. It is really incredible how quickly kidney function goes up in folks. Okay, even if they're in their 90s. I've had multiple people in their 90s now who decide to go raw. They inspire me so much. They're like, I'm going raw. I want to keep living. I love my life. It's the coolest thing. All right. Let's see. Anina wants to know, sorry if I get your names wrong. Will your plan help with ADHD symptoms? My husband and I tried your red cabbage and mango salad and we loved it. Oh, I'm so glad. That's from Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious. That's a good one. So it can. So there have been studies that show ADHD is definitely exacerbated by unhealthy eating. And I have had clients and patients who have done very well with doing, hyper-nourishing plant-based and improved their ADHD. It just depends. There are some severe cases that have been there since birth, and that people can still struggle with. And then there's others where, it's gotten worse over time, or it's a fairly new or fairly mild, where they notice a dramatic difference. So definitely eating badly exacerbates it. Eating well gives you the best chance of improving it or managing it in addition to whatever else you need to do. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right, let's see. Okay. Well, I'm going to try I'm sorry. Sophie Odo. I'm so sorry. If I hear your name, I will imprint on it. I don't want to destroy it trying to say it. I think it's Elahoje or Elahoje. I live in Nigeria. How can I do rapid recovery? I've suffered with RA for 14 years, and in July this year, my 17-year-old son's been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Oh, okay. We've actually had people from Nigeria, from different parts of Africa, actually everywhere in the world, do rapid recovery with us. So you can do it privately in a 4-week program with Thomas or myself. We have rapid recovery groups as well. Our group for August 22nd is already full. We haven't yet picked a date for the next one because we are still, maybe you guys can tell me what you think of this. We're floating an idea. Normally we would start the next group after like a week off or two, and then start the next group. So that would be mid-October when this group ends, but that would put us over Thanksgiving. And usually we don't do groups anymore through Thanksgiving or Christmas because 1, most people don't want to do that. And 2, it's when our son is off and we want to spend that time. So we have 2 things we're floating, and I'm really curious about what you all think. One idea, is just not having another group till January, beginning of January, which most folks do not want that have been writing to me like, no, that's so far away. The other would be doing, we haven't done this as a group before, but doing a 4-week, but as a group. So we have 4 weeks privately, and then we have 6 weeks as a group, but doing a 4-week group that would happen in October, that would end right before Thanksgiving. So that's something we're considering. We're mulling it over, not sure. But those are the things we're considering. If that's something and the 4-week group would of course be at a lower price point because it's 4 weeks instead of 6, but it would be less time. But 4 weeks is enough to make good breakthroughs. So we're playing with it. So those are the ideas. So if we do that, then it would be in October. But again, this is just kind of, we haven't made a decision about that, but I'm definitely curious about what you all think, especially folks maybe in Smoothie Shred or people who are planning to do it, what you would prefer. But those are the two ways to do rapid recovery. So currently, if you sign up for a rapid recovery group, you are signed up for the next group that has space in it. But private rapid recovery is we enroll as we go. Thomas and I each don't do more than 2 people a month because it is unlimited access to us by phone, we Zoom, we Skype, we FaceTime, we text. So it's unlimited access to get as much support as you need every single day for 4 weeks. So we max out at 2 each. So my next space right now, I think would be, trying to think, I don't know if I have another space left for October. I might, if not, yeah. And then Thomas has for September and October. So that's what we got right now. And it'll help you and your son. All right. Let me see. All right. And all right, let's go over to Instagram. Let's see. How's everyone doing on Instagram today? See if people are enjoying my take on Wizard of Oz. All right, let's see. Oh, I love getting to talk about movies. You want to talk about a movie with me? I love it. All right. Neo wants to know, hey, Dr. G, should I get my levels checked before I take daily iodine, B12, and D3? Protocol help with water retention. Everybody needs B12, D3, and iodine. So those are things you definitely need. But if you want to know, like, for example, do you need a loading dose of vitamin D? Checking it will tell you if you have low levels. If you have low levels, it's important to do a loading dose. B12, typically there's a heads up that there's a B12 issue looking at your cell size on a CBC, but you can check your B12 as well. Iodine's a bit tougher to check because if you're taking it, that interferes with the test, which means you have to be off of it for like 2 weeks in order to know your exact level. But in the meantime, then you're deficient. So usually we just go ahead and use it. All right, let's see. So Nahid wants to know, my brother's sick. It's probably autoimmune. Doctors aren't sure. He doesn't want to stay raw vegan. What can he do? Well, you might have to sit down and just think about what he wants most. I don't think most people do the raw protocol because they just want to be raw. It's just like people don't give up eating meat because they don't like the taste for the most part. I mean, there's some people who don't like the taste, but they already have been vegetarians since they were kids, right? You don't do it because you want to. You do it because you want your health to be better, and it's worth it to do whatever it takes. So he probably needs to just figure out what he wants most. And if he wants to solve this illness, get healthy as quickly as he can, then it's a really good idea to do the full goodbye autoimmune protocol and see if he can get better. Remember, it's not a forever thing. Although a lot of folks that I work with decide to stay raw just because it feels amazing, most folks do step down and add in the cooked foods again. They eat plant-based diets that have legumes and grains and other things, starches, all the stuff, and they keep hypernourishment and they're able to maintain their health from then on. So it's just whether or not he's willing to. I mean, people say they don't like the feeling of the side effect of withdrawal, but, and the side effect from your foods, and the side effect of cravings. But how about the side effect of all the medicines that they use to try to treat autoimmune? When I had autoimmune disease, when I had lupus, half the pills I took were for the side effects of the other half of the pills I took. I was swallowing 7 pills a day and getting IV chemotherapy just to survive as a 60-year-old with lupus and kidney problems and all that. And then we added the injections in for the blood thinners back when I was in my 20s, and the lupus continued to develop. So the side effects of medicines are real, right? So whether we're treated medically, whether we're treated with nutrition, whether you do nothing and let the disease be the one that torments you, there's always something you've got to deal with in order to get as you move forward. It's just choosing which one actually gets you to where you want to go. And eating on the plan can get you to better health. And that is worth whatever it takes to get there. He just has to decide whether or not he's going to go down that yellow brick road. That's all. All right. And ultimately, you may not be able to convince him, and you're going to have to make peace with that too. Sometimes we can't convince people to do what we know is good for them, and we have to just love them anyway. And it's difficult, but it's part of it. All right. Let's see. Jane Elizabeth Photography says, I have food sensitivities, fruits and vegetables. Does limbic system rewiring help? I've tried smoothies several times and get itchy skin. Should I microdose and build up? I would actually be just trying to find which ingredients bother you. If you've ever watched my online classes, there's one case study. So the third class, and it's all in one video when I do the free classes, but if you have the lifetime access to my classes, you can access each video separately whenever you want to. In the third class, Freddie was someone who did my plan, and he was someone I met at the gym, retired police officer, bodybuilder, and he started chatting with me about his blood pressure. Didn't even know I was a doctor, didn't know anything about me. He just started chatting with me about it. And I was like, oh, I know what you can do. And then he was like, oh, I can't because I'm allergic to all fruits and vegetables. And I was like, what do you eat? And he was like, I have milk for breakfast, a couple glasses of milk, hot dogs, all sorts of just badness. And I said, the reason that you're allergic to fruits and vegetables is because of the other stuff you eat. So the thing that feels better is actually making you worse. And so he was like, yeah, I'll try anything. And so he did it. He got off of that, and we found which ones didn't trigger him. Be careful who you talk to at the gym is what I'm saying. But he found which things trigger him and which ones didn't. And he was able to get on at least some vegetables. Vegetables we started with first because his allergy to fruits and vegetables was so bad, he needed to actually give himself a shot so his throat didn't close. And he couldn't eat any fruit, but he was able to eat some vegetables, and the allergies came down, and he was able to add fruit back in his life. He said he was so excited because he loved watermelon so much, he hadn't been able to eat it for years. His wife held the EpiPen while he bit into a watermelon, no reaction. Next time I saw him at the gym, he asked my husband permission to hug me, which he asked me permission, but I guess he was making sure Tom wasn't going to hurt him. And he goes, no, hug her. She deserves it. And he gave me a big hug, and he was just like, you gave me fruits and vegetables back. It's amazing. Thank you. So sometimes it's something else that's causing it. So I'd be looking at the other things you eat and then trying to figure out, are there any safe foods we can use that would be on plan for you to help you start to get yourself healthy, bring that inflammation down, and then likely bring down this allergy so you can eat more. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's go back over to Smoothie Shred. All right, Aphrodite wants to know, does Goodbye Lupus protocol help with cholinergic urticaria of unknown origin, possibly related to stress? Thank you for everything you do. You're welcome. And yes, I've mentioned before, I used to have a therapy patient with anxiety, and she would break out in hives from anxiety, which is like that, So if she was telling me about something stressful, I would watch the bumps just spread across her chest and her shoulders, or I could watch it happen. It absolutely does help. And also there are folks who have it as part of their inflammatory condition. One of the, if you look at a testimonial from Sri, she saw me for lupus while pregnant, but the biggest symptom she had is she had hives all over her body, and nothing worked, not even the corticosteroids. And within the first week, those hives went away when nothing else did. So absolutely, it's worthwhile. Marina wants to know, do women need to have some amount of body fat for their hormones? Can you elaborate things? Well, we tend to have more body fat than men generally. But how much body fat you have really is about your preference too. Generally speaking, lower body fat is healthier for all of us. So if you have lower body fat, you are going to have less inflammation. You're going to have better health. So I like to be very lean. I'm lean and mean. One, it's because of my diet, and it's two, because of my exercise. So like this morning, I was out there running in the heat this morning, and then did my boot camp class. And, so I love it. I really like being really lean and toned. I also know it's really good for my heart. It's good for my brain. It's good for my memory, and keeps my immune system nice and calm. So if you are eating in a way that's really healthy, especially, like on my protocol, and you're exercising, you're going to be leaner, and that's perfect. But I still have always had normal hormones. The only reason that I don't have a period now since January now is because perimenopause. Yay! So I'm almost done. I hit January and I can be fully menopausal. And I gotta say, I don't have symptoms. I feel perfectly normal like myself. But I have low body fat, and my hormone levels were fine. Was able to have pregnancies, everything normally. So I think that yes, we do have some body fat that's more than what men would have. I have certain curves that exist because of my hormones and where I put fat on. But it's not necessary to have an excessive amount of body fat. In fact, it's not healthy too. All right, let's see. Biz Wallace wants to know if I'm pre-diabetic, can I still eat fruit and heal? Absolutely, especially in our protocol. We've had many folks reverse diabetes, pre-diabetes quickly, usually within a month. If you're pre-diabetic, by the end of the first month, you should not be anymore if you're doing the full Goodbye Lupus protocol. So, and let's see. Oh, and Anne's agreeing. Try to convince, but love them anyway. That's the hard part, right? You can't make people do things. Oh. It's hard enough when you're in charge and it's your own kids, right? But the hardest people to change, your own parents. I would say it's hard to raise your parents, isn't it? All right, let's see. Back on YouTube. Let's see here. Logan wants to know, I have primary biliary cholangitis with a liver mass. I'm told it can get worse in 5 years to monitor after MRI to ensure non-cancerous. I'm sorry you're going through something scary. If you want to see any kind of itis is inflammation. That's what itis is. ITIS is what we attach to any word in medicine to mean inflammation. So if you want to see if you can bring down that inflammation, you can always go ahead and do the Goodbye Lupus protocol. Do it before you get your next MRI and see if you can bring that inflammation down. I mean, that's in your power, something that you can do to help yourself. All right. Let's see. Imagine 7 generations. It says, is it okay to consume 4 cups of flax seeds daily? My son wants to bulk while healing. He's had 2 smoothies with a cup of flax seeds, kale, and apples, and it digested fine. That's an excessive amount of flax seeds. I would rather him eat more vegetables to get more of an array of nutrients than just eat more flax seeds. He's maxing out the benefit that he can get. I mean, at a cup a day, he's probably not going to get more benefit than he had than for 4 cups. And if he's thinking that it's more calories, so I'll gain weight, well, that's just not true. And I've explained that in other Q&As. So it's very difficult to bulk and heal. You can get toned, you can get shredded, you can get fit while healing, but you're not going to gain mass because you have to eat excess amounts, especially of carbohydrates, in order to put on mass. So you have to be okay with being lean and strong. You'll burn body fat, you'll absolutely build size. I've talked about this before. We've had Olympic level athletes work with us who got autoimmune, need to get better. And they end up lighter at the end of 4 weeks. But what we found is they're breaking their own personal records for strength, for speed, and for endurance at the end of 4 weeks, which meant they got stronger. So they had to have gotten what they needed for their muscles. Their nerves are responding and communicating better. Their muscles are communicating better and reacting better because of the nourishment, but they're not bigger. So they're stronger, they're fitter, they're faster, they have better endurance, but they're not bigger. So get healthy first, even though you're going to be lean. And if you're tired or feel like you need more, you're going to increase the cruciferous vegetables because they're the most nutrient dense part of the protocol. You can increase those, you can have more avocados and things, but the vegetables are really giving you the nutrition you need for that higher level of energy it takes to lift heavy. But I don't see any reason to go to that level of flax seeds. I think that's beyond what you're going to get any benefit out of. All right. All right. Laura wants to know, when I enter what I eat into a chronometer, I'm low in choline. I'm raw vegan. Any suggestions? Choline's in a lot of things. I mean, cauliflower is high in choline. Cabbage is pretty high, but cauliflower is probably the highest. Broccoli and cabbage have it too, but cauliflower's got double. So you can always bump up your cauliflower intake if you're having any issue. All right, let's see here. Laura, if someone is healthy, should they still limit nuts and seeds, and what should their percentage of fat be? I don't think you need to worry about nuts and seeds if you're otherwise healthy. I guess you don't want to overdo it on a daily basis, although once in a while is probably okay. But using some nuts and seeds to make a dressing or a handful as a snack, that's fine in someone who's healthy. In fact, nuts and seeds have a lot of nutrients in them. The only reason I limit it during the Goodbye Lupus, Goodbye Autoimmune protocol is simply because we're trying to get the omega-3s up as high as possible. And it's the ratio of 6:3 that affects your inflammation levels. And nuts and seeds generally have a lot of omega-6. So it's like you're like flax seeds and then some nuts and then flax seeds and nuts, right? I want this to stay here and just start building this up. And then once you get to the ratio that you need, then it's all right if you have some nuts and seeds and you're still having your smoothies, you'll end up around the same. All right, let's see. Got some time here. Let's go down to Facebook. Hi, Fiona. I just got lots of emojis there. All right. And Trina on YouTube, if your cousin's on the verge of kidney failure, you said, should they incorporate spinach? If they're on the verge, meaning they're not in kidney failure, spinach is fine. But if they have some level of kidney failure, then they probably don't want to have it, just because it might be more than their kidneys can process in terms of potassium. All right. All right, let's see. All right. Tammy Lynn, let's see. All right. Saying, I've been doing raw veggies and cruciferous for a year. No sugar, no oils, but fat, flax. Have fatty liver. They told me cut them. Does flax, oil, and avocado increase fatty liver? Absolutely not. So we've had great results reversing fatty liver disease, different types of autoimmune hepatitis, everything with our protocol. So that's not going to cause fatty liver. I'd be looking at what are they actually seeing. So is this by ultrasound or by labs? Most common cause of inflammation of the liver on labs is going to be related to medications. So I might need to just kind of look at it and see the big picture of everything you're doing. But no, eating flax oil and avocado does not cause fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is usually caused by high sugar intake, processed foods, things like that. Yes, animal fats can do it, but flax oil and avocado won't. Okay, let's see. Colleen, Wizard of Oz is my life now. All right, let me see. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's get to some Facebook things. All right, so Alicia's saying, I'm not eating and my stomach's emptying poorly. What should I do? If you're not eating, then there's nothing in your stomach to empty. So I don't have enough information to answer this question. Please try to give me as much information as you can so that I can answer. I'm not sure what the issue is, what the illness is, but we definitely need you eating. Eating is essential. Thank you, Mila. Was it Buchner? Thank you. Appreciate all of you guys saying nice things. Okay. Lucille says, I've been tested multiple times for lupus. Each time was negative. Final diagnosis was Unitarian rosacea, fibromyalgia. I'm trying this to see if it helps. I know some people, including doctors, don't think fibromyalgia is a real thing, but the pain, rashes, and fatigue are real, so I'm hoping it helps. Fibromyalgia is absolutely a real thing. I think sometimes what they mean by that is there are doctors who don't necessarily believe that that diagnosis is correct for the symptoms. But the fact that the person is in pain is real. And if someone's told you that you're not experiencing symptoms, then don't see that person again. I trust 100% that the person I'm talking to is the expert on their body. They know if they're in pain. They know what they're feeling. It's my job to understand, learn everything I can, and help them with every aspect of their recovery I can possibly help them with. That is my job. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to say I don't know. But if you have someone telling you what you have isn't real, I'd be like, what exactly are you saying? Are you saying that this is the wrong diagnosis? Or are you saying you don't believe that I'm suffering? Because that's not true. But I know what you're saying. A lot of people, the less so lately, but back in the day, fibromyalgia was controversial. But it basically means that someone's in a lot of pain and tends to be exhausted, and the doctor doesn't know why, and that's the name that they give it. I've had fantastic results helping people with this diagnosis. So hopefully you're feeling a lot better soon. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Anna, my daughter has dermatomyositis. It's attacking her muscle. She's doing the smoothie, plant-based, but also plant-based diet. Does she get enough protein during this protocol? Thank you so much. I've had very, very good results with dermatomyositis, and which is inflammation of the skin and muscle for the other folks, and just plain myositis, where it's only muscle inflammation, where the person was falling down out of nowhere when they were trying to walk or move around their house. And I did rapid recovery with that person, and her the breakdown of muscle, the CK levels, everything was normalized at the end of the 4 weeks that we worked together privately. So when you have inflammation of the muscle, it's not that you need more protein. We need to get the inflammation down so the muscle can heal. So yes, they get enough protein if they're doing my full Goodbye Lupus protocol. And that's the most important thing she could do to bring down this inflammation in her muscle and her skin. And hopefully she's feeling better soon. I know that's stressful to have a sick kid. So let's see here. All right. And Roma says, I don't feel full with smoothies. Well, either you're not having enough smoothie, you can drink until you're full. I can promise you, like if I drink this full cup down, I just refilled it. So this one is full right now. But when I finish this, I feel full, right? But then I might get hungry again and then I eat again. So you can drink until fullness, but you don't have to do smoothies. You can also eat, you can eat salads. There's other ways to do it. But usually people aren't full. They just didn't have enough food. The other time is sometimes people will be full, but then get hungry again in like an hour or two and then think they weren't full. You were full and then you got hungry again. And that's okay. Your body digested it and you can eat again. All right. And Fuzami wants to know, should all the vegetables be organic? They do not need to be organic, but if you can afford it, yes, it's better. But if you can't afford it, you still get the benefit of the vegetables, and that matters the most. But if you can get it organic, or if you can get at least the greens organic, that's a good way to go. All right. I have a lot of people jumping in to help each other today on YouTube. All right, let's see here. Go over to Instagram. Let's see here. Suzanne says, do you have suggestions for my cycle to return post-baby breastfeeding? My daughter's almost 3. Blood work shows I'm not in perimenopause, but estrogen and progesterone are low. I don't know what the issue is there for you. Typically, the cycle returns when you stop breastfeeding. So, yeah, without knowing more about your health history, I'm not sure what the trigger is to that. Eating on my plan optimizes people's health and recovery, so it doesn't hurt if you want to try it. But I don't know necessarily what the issue is for you to say, like, this is definitely the answer. I just know it can help you optimize your health. Okay, let's see here. All right, Dana says, what if your strength and energy is low, but then I add beans, I'm bouncing off the walls with energy? Why? It sounds like you just weren't eating enough. So if you're saying that, like, you eat a salad, your energy's low, then you add beans and you have a ton of energy. Well, beans are really, really dense in, you've got a lot of carbohydrates in there, a lot more calories in there. So typically if someone's saying, I'm eating raw, but I don't have energy, but then I eat something else and I do, they're just not eating enough. So remember that hypernourishment minimums are minimums to add to your diet. And then you're going to want to increase from there. So the cruciferous vegetables have tons of nutrition in them for energy. So even in our athletes who are working out 5 hours a day, they have enough energy to do it, but they're eating way more. They're eating like 40 ounces of cruciferous a day for 5 hours of working out, right? So you have to just make sure you're eating enough. So all that tells you is you just needed more food in order to get to that energy level that you're looking for. Of course, to get to that same amount, it's going to be a lot more in vegetable form than it would be in bean form. So that's all it is. All right. And Angel, vegan girl, how can we help people make the connection that bad food does bad things over time, vice versa with good food? I think people look at food choices and the only thing that matters is what they like. Well, that's the question, isn't it? I find that most people aren't looking to change their diet, especially for health reasons, unless they're sick. It is very hard to convince someone who feels good to do something differently. That's just the case, right? So people don't tend to be motivated to change unless they have an issue. If you are trying to help someone who's sick, you can give them the information. You could show them my classes, for example, and watch it with them, or watch documentaries with them or things like that. Or you can always try a challenge. If someone's having a health issue and they're not convinced, you can go, well, how about we put it to the test? What if we do a month together of this protocol of either eating plant-based or doing hyper-nourishing plant-based or doing like the full protocol? What if we do that for a month together and then see how we feel at the end of the month? And that way, because usually people don't know the difference until they feel the difference. And so if you're having an argument, well, why not test it? That would be where I started. So, all right. That was fun, guys. I'm glad to see all of you here today, even with the YouTube protest and all the things going on. It's always good to get to spend this time with you. And I hope that helped you, whether it's my coaching in the beginning, my movie analysis, answering questions. I'm here to help you as much as I can. I want to help the public so that you can get well and enjoy your life and get to the finish line of wherever it is you want to go, and then dream of new things to do from there. I will see you next week, same time. Hope you have a great rest of your week.